What is happening, everybody? Joelsuf coming your way. This is another remembering thing podcast, whatever. Just meant do this to hold you over until my next Nexus, until the final Nexus video, the final fantasy booking video. That's coming out pretty soon. I just had to make some changes and stuff, and it's pretty difficult to do it all too. Just because I'm scripting it all out and I don't have a team to do it. So yeah. But yeah, it'll be fun. You'll like it, but. To hold you over, I figure I may as well reminisce about one of the more significant Monday Night Raws in terms of transitioning between the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. So everyone remembers this edition of Raw for one match, and that's the match that you see on that screen: Jeff Hardy versus the Undertaker in the ladder match for Undertaker's WWE title. And this match had a little bit of build-up. I think like both Hardys were like messing with the Undertaker for most of June and stuff like that, and I think in one segment Undertaker says to Jeff, he's like, okay, to Jeff Hardy in particular, said, okay, look, like I'll if I put the title on the line against you, will you leave me alone? And then Jeff Hardy's like, yeah, and I don't want just a regular match, I want in a ladder match. So there you go. And so big hype for this match. But this Raw, it took place exactly a week after McMahon did his Ruthless Aggression promo and pretty much closed the book on the Attitude Era and transitioned from Attitude to Ruthless Aggression. Now, in my opinion, this transition wouldn't really take place completely until I'd say until like WrestleMania 19, because you still had Attitude Era elements during the rest of 2002, and don't forget, like, the Eric Bischoff would be named the GM of Raw 2 weeks after this. So, and I think I did a episode on that already. Now it must have been years ago, because that's definitely a significant time. People don't understand how significant the year 2002 was in WWE. Before I get too far into this, I'll go ahead and outline this podcast in a few ways. I'll go ahead and talk about what I was dealing with personally, where I was in my own life around this time, and what WWE was going through, and what their plans were going forward. And then I'll go through the entire show, or not the entire show, but most of the show. Okay, so, which I do remember a little bit. I watched it last night just to celebrate that anniversary. So yeah, so what was I going through at this time? Well, I just turned 20, so I was in college, and I just finished my freshman year in college, and was going into my sophomore year. But I had summer vacation. I took summer classes, but those ended about a week before this. In fact, they ended like on John Cena's debut, which was June 27th, 2002. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so there I was in college. And around this time, I was watching wrestling religiously back then. Like, I was trying not to miss a show. Even if I did miss a show, like, they would have, WWE would air a thing called Bottom Line, which would come on, I think, I forget what channel it was, but it would come on at like 3 in the morning on certain days. And I'd be like, okay, let me watch Bottom Line. Because you didn't have, I guess you could go on WWE.com back in the day to get results and stuff, but you didn't have podcasters, like myself or GMW or Solo Monster or anyone really, who it's almost like their job, not really their job, but just a side hustle of theirs, to watch these shows and give you a recap. This way, if you miss stuff, then you don't have to worry about it. You didn't have that back in 2002 at all. Like, there was no YouTube, nothing. So, yeah. So if you missed a show, well, damn, you really need to, you missed stuff unless you TiVo'd it. Remember TiVo? That was just coming out. And programming a VCR, even that I did that a little bit when I if I knew I was gonna miss wrestling. So yeah, that's what I was going through. So I was finishing up my freshman year of college. Good stuff. What was WWE going through in the summer of '02? Well, in July they lost Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin just was not happy with how WWE was booking him. They booked him in a match to lose to Lesnar at not at King of the Ring 2002, but during the tournament of it. And he didn't mind putting a young dude over, but he didn't want to be on free TV. He wanted it to be in like the finals. You know what I mean? And that's what made him leave. Uh, he was, I think he was hitting his wife. Austin was something like that. And so he had some issues he had to take care of. He had some issues at home, stuff like that too. He even mentions it. He talks about it in a lot of his podcasts. He says, "Oh, I was drinking a lot and I was not focused." And yeah, and that's what causes you to make mistakes in life, and I can imagine Austin being that type of person because that's how he is. How he is in real life is probably how he is, just like a toned down version of how he is as a wrestling performer. So he was gone for the rest of 2002. Rock was doing movies and stuff, so and he would come in like every now and then. I think he came back like before King of the Ring '02, and he had like a shoot promo ish, like after Austin left. He said, "If you don't want to be here, then just leave, because the people who were here, they want to be here. When I was here as a full time performer, I wanted to be here." That's what Rock said. So this Raw was like just a couple weeks after that. It was a couple weeks after King of the Ring '02. It was, and McMahon, he needed to take the company. He needed to take WWE in a new direction. He knew he couldn't rely on guys who were representing WWE. 2 years ago, '99, or even last year in '01. He knew that things were changing quickly. So he decided, hey, let's start pushing younger dudes. And you can dislike McMahon for whatever reason. You can dislike Vince McMahon for whatever reason. But in 2002, you saw more guys under 35 go over than in any other than in any other like year in WWE. Okay? And this show proves it. This show was designed to do two things to any given performer in WWE under the age of 35. It was designed to put them over or make them look strong, and you saw that in this final match. You saw that in the main event with Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker, and you saw it in a number of other matches and segments and stuff that took place during this show. So I think the show starts with Brock Lesnar versus Ric Flair. Heyman comes out and he's hyping up Brock Lesnar and stuff. And he refers to how Kurt Angle was calling out John Cena, and Heyman's like, well, let me do this. How about the new guy calls out somebody who's been doing this for a while. And then Ric Flair comes out, and Ric Flair has a match with Brock Lesnar and puts Brock Lesnar over, I think. Or I think it ends or he at least makes Lesnar look strong. I think it ends in a DQ with Rob Van Dam. With Rob Van Dam interfering. So yeah, and then Rob Van Dam cuts a promo on Brock and says, I'll put my IC title on the line against you right now. And then Heyman says, no, we're gonna wait until was it Vengeance '02? I think something like that. Was that when? Yeah. It was Vengeance 2002, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, and then he had and then in the back right after that. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. No. No. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Not that promo doesn't take place until later. I'm sorry. What happens after that match though, against after Brock versus Ric Flair, is that you see a segment between William Regal and Rob Van Dam. And Van Dam goes to Regal and says, "Where's Brock? Where's Brock? I have an issue with him." And Regal says, "Oh, he's not here. But why are you doing? What are you doing, barging into my locker room?" And Van Dam goes, "You know what? I'm just gonna challenge you to a match. If I can't challenge Brock to a match, and so you have Regal versus Rob Van Dam, and William Regal puts Rob Van Dam over, and then Van Dam has the promo where he calls out Brock Lesnar. Yeah, so there you go. And this was also you also you saw the beginnings of Booker T and Goldust, their tag team, them being a successful tag team. This was when the NWO was still around, and it was also I believe like a couple weeks after Shawn Michaels came back. So the NWO, as of this edition of Raw, was consisted of Kevin Nash, The Big Show, X-Pac, and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels wearing NWO colors. What? Yeah, like I was like, it was a weird time in WWE. And like I said, like the only one in that group under 35 was Big Show and X-Pac. So they have a match against Booker T and Goldust, I think, or I think it was just one of the two. I don't know. And this was also the time when Star Wars: Attack of the Clones Episode 2 came out. So, well, I think it just came out in theaters. So they were referring to it. Goldust dresses up as Darth Vader and stuff, and he goes to the Big Show and he says, "I'm your father," and then Nash turns around and beats up Goldust and says, "Oh, I'm your daddy." I loved that segment. That was a great segment. But so yeah, and then I think NWO has a match against Booker T. And only Booker T, I think, or Booker T and Goldust. I really don't remember, even though I just watched it yesterday. It just kind of slipped my mind. But after that match, Michaels gets on the mic and he says, "Oh, the NWO isn't going anywhere. It's going to be stronger than ever. And there's a guy who's injured who is going to come back and he's going to join the NWO." They're talking about Triple H, who had a kayfabe injury after winning against Chris Jericho in Hell in the Cell, which was in on Judgment Day 2002 or something like that. I think Triple H was kayfabe injured, and he would come back and whatever. And that was at Vengeance 2002 when Triple H would make his decision. But yeah, so and yeah, the NWO would not last at all. Like it had 2 more weeks in existence and then it stopped. And they were replaced with Eric Bischoff, pretty much. And Nash got injured, and Big Show went to SmackDown, and X-Pac I think quit. So yeah, NWO 2002, man. Man, that was just awful. And this was also okay. So this show also featured Jackie Gaeta, who won 2002 Tough Enough, I believe. It was her and it was Linda Miles, that Amazon woman. Oh, I forget what she looked like or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, she had a dominatrix gimmick or something like that, where she called herself Shaniqua. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it was her and the Basham brothers. So she was doing that on SmackDown, but Jackie Gaeta was just trying to come in her own in after Tough Enough, and you could tell Yeah, and they put her on TV far too quickly, but they had her work with Molly Holly. So a week before this show, I think she had a tag team match with Molly Holly against Trish Stratus and I think it was against with Trish Stratus and Linda, who then went to SmackDown like right after or something like that. And then so they're doing a backstage segment, and Jackie says, "Oh, I think I did my part in the match, but I don't think Molly Holly did." And then Molly Holly comes out, and they have a big brawl, and it was a pretty cool looking brawl. But I mean, someone like Jackie Gata coming in like right out of the gate from Tough Enough, how can you expect her to have a match? You can expect her to brawl though, and that's what they did. And then Trish Stratus comes out to save Jackie, and this was at the time when Molly Holly was still doing her, major purity thing, where she was always covered up and stuff like that, and so typical good guy embarrasses the bad guy segment where Trish Stratus pulls down Molly Holly's pants and you see her wearing granny panties or boy shorts or whatever you call them, and Jerry Lawler's Jerry Lawler, and on commentary he was still really I guess chauvinistic. I wouldn't say chauvinistic, but as close to being chauvinistic as you can get without actually being chauvinistic. So he's saying, "Oh, granny panties! Oh my God, she's wearing granny panties!" So that kind of stuff. There's another segment where this was when Chris Benoit was coming back from injury, and WWE didn't really know what to do with Chris Benoit at this time, but they had a little bit of a plan. But so McMahon is in the back with Eddie Guerrero, and Eddie Guerrero's like, "Hey, you know what ruthless aggression means in Spanish?" And McMahon's like, "No, what is it?" Eddie Guerrero's like, "Oh, ruthless aggression means Eddie Guerrero in Spanish." So yeah. So WWE was not about to push Eddie Guerrero just yet. And Guerrero here, I think, was still under 35, right? Let's see, when was he born? 67? He was just about to turn 35. But, they still wanted a young-ish guy who's like Guerrero to be showcased here. And Benoit also comes in the segment, so he's ready to go. He was ready to have matches. He was injured for most of 2002 for a very long time. He had a really massive injury because, I'm still seeing that Dark Side of the Ring documentary on him. It's hard for me to say his name, even. That's how, unsettling that is. Anyways, so they have a match against Spike Dudley and Bubba Ray Dudley. So the 2002 draft split up the Dudley boys, which is not a good idea. And WWE knew that, and they would eventually reunite in the end of 2002. But you had Dudley Boys Light in Spike and Bubba, and they have a decent match. They have a tables match, I think. No. They have a tables match, and they do a table spot after, where Guerrero and Benoit put Bubba Ray through table, and it would have been cool to see Guerrero and Benoit as a tag team, but they decided to pair Eddie Guerrero with Chavo Guerrero, and they decided to pair up Chris Benoit with Kurt Angle. That was in late 2002. That was when most of these guys you see on Raw got traded over to SmackDown, like Guerrero and Benoit. Both of them got traded to SmackDown. Dudley guys, they stayed. Spike and Bubba Ray. Yeah, so there you go. Let's see. What else was on this show? Yeah, then you see, now we have the match between Rob Van Dam and William Regal. Again, it's older guys making younger guys look stronger, or younger guys all having good matches together for the most part during the show. And yeah, and Rob Van Dam was Intercontinental Champion at this time, and I think William Regal was European Champion. So he was still doing his thing as European Champion. That title was still around. They should bring it back. Oh, they kind of do have it back, I guess, in NXT. in the UK Championship. As NXT UK, yeah, I did that video a few weeks ago. It's insane how that stuff has been happening in the UK and in the US and stuff. It's just not fair, just not right, but whatever. You watch that if you want. That's a couple videos back on my channel. Anyways, yeah, and Regal puts Van Dam over, and Van Dam gets on the mic, and he says to Brock Lesnar, I want to challenge you right now for this IC title, because I'm sick of you messing with my matches and stuff. I'm pretty sure he's sick of me messing with mine. Heyman does kind of gloss over the history between him and Rob Van Dam and ECW and stuff, but not really. And like Heyman says, I've always appreciated the fact that you have guts and stuff. And Heyman's like, I'm not gonna have Lesnar to go up against you now. I'm gonna have Lesnar go up against you at Vengeance 02. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and then you have and then we finally start getting ready for Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker, which they dedicated like I believe like probably like 30 or so minutes to this match. It was crazy. In between the segments and the match itself. Like, it was big fight feel. Pay-per-view quality match for sure. So Jeff Hardy's getting interviewed, and this happens throughout the show. Whatever. A couple times. And like with a couple different interviewers, like one of them being Terry, another one being, I think, Jonathan Coachman. I think both of them talked to Jeff Hardy. And Hardy says, I've been in a whole bunch of ladder matches, and Undertaker hasn't been in any that I remember. And I think maybe Undertaker was in one ladder match before this. Maybe? I don't remember. I really don't remember at all. So whatever. And, so Jeff Hardy's getting really excited. He's like, all I gotta do is climb the ladder and take the title. I don't have to pin him. I don't have to make him submit. I don't have to do anything like that. I've got this. I'm gonna be the WWE champion tonight. And they cut to another segment before the match where Matt Hardy, is saying to Jeff, good luck tonight. Do your thing. We all got faith in you. And here's someone else who wants to say good luck, and it's Lita, who was injured, and she was still recovering from her neck injury at this time, and so she's there, and that's pretty cool. And then Hardy rushes out to his match and stuff like that. So yeah, and all right, so now the Undertaker right before the match, the Undertaker really wants a match against Rock no matter what, and so McMahon goes to Undertaker. He says, okay, whether you're champion or not champion, you're gonna have the Rock, whether it's for the title or not. And Undertaker's like, what do you mean whether I'm champion or not? Are you kidding me? Are you doubting me? And then Undertaker's like, look, after I'm through with Jeff Hardy tonight, he's probably going to retire after I beat him. I'm going to make sure he doesn't wrestle again or something like that. It was ridiculous. Because Undertaker, he was still in his biker gimmick, which, in my opinion, is my favorite gimmick of him, because that is, the biker gimmick, in my opinion, that is Mark Calloway, okay? That's probably how he acts. You know what I mean? If you make him mad, he'll just go off on you. You know what I mean? So, whatever. I don't know. Because he's really good on the stick. It wasn't cartoony. You know what I mean? And I watched the entire documentary series. I'm going to review it. I'm going to watch it again when I get a chance, and probably do a nice massive 1 hour podcast on that. Just talking about certain stuff that I didn't really notice or recognize or whatever, or stuff that I thought just stuff that just popped out from the documentary series. It's an awesome documentary series, The Last Ride. You should definitely watch it if you have WWE Network. I think it's also on the free version of it too. I don't know. Probably is. This episode, Raw, must be also on the free version of WWE Network. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, so this match, wow, it, yeah, like it brought the best out of both of these guys, and this you can see how much faith WWE had in Jeff Hardy in this match. Okay, WWE, in my opinion, they wanted to make Jeff Hardy right up there with John Cena and Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton and Batista and who else? And these other guys from developmental who were, were not even 20, who were either pushing 25 or a little bit over 25, or not even 30 yet. Like the oldest of that crowd was not Batista, Brock Lesnar, and he was like 26 in 2002 or something like that. I think he was born in like 78 or something, or 70, 76 or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he's younger than no wait. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. He was like, I think he was like 24ish here. So, and Jeff Hardy is like 24 in this match too. He's a 24-year-old kid here against Undertaker, who's like 39 at this time. You know what I mean? So the match goes back and forth. Both dudes get a lot of offense in. You see the slow, tactical, and brutal like way that the Undertaker worked when he was in the biker gimmick. Lots of unprotected chair shots, which, yeah, that hasn't really aged well. Now that we know what we know. I mean, yeah, but still, tons of ladder spots, a lot of aerial stuff from Jeff Hardy, where he, like one of the very first spot, he does crossbody off the top rope onto the floor, onto the Undertaker. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So it was a very fast paced, very hard hitting match. And there were a few times, and Jim Ross, like you could hear it when he called the match, that he was like, climb up the ladder, kid, make yourself famous. Yeah, so it's awesome calls from Jim Ross here. Even Jerry Lawler, who he was biased towards the Undertaker because he was still rooting for the bad guys in the early and mid 2000s up until I think 06 or so, something like that. Or even no, like up until like 07 or something like that. Yeah. So even he was like, "Oh my God, is Jeff Hardy gonna actually do this?" Yeah, and Jeff Hardy was so close to winning that WWE title. It was insane. And I honestly thought, even when I watched this when I was 20 years old, I really did think that WWE was going to pull the trigger and have Jeff Hardy capture the WWE title, because I knew, even back then, that WWE wanted younger guys who were under 30 or under 35 to at least be transitional champions, just to let fans know that, we're not going to rely on old people like WCW did 5 years ago. We're not going to rely on dudes like Austin and Rock and Triple H and Angle and other dudes from, and even Foley in some aspects. I'm pretty sure they could have just brought Foley back for a transitional run. He wouldn't have cared. I mean, Mick Foley's just nothing but transitional championship titles. You know what I mean? But so, they sent that message in this show to say, look, we're going to make these young guys look really, really strong because we believe in them. We believe in guys who are under 25 even. Like I said, it would have been really cool to see Jeff Hardy. I think he would have been the youngest WWE champion if he had won this, because I think Rock won it when he was 26 in 1999, right? Or 98. Yeah. So, but it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't to be. And Undertaker just barely wins. He just barely wins the match. And even when I was watching this, even when I was watching this, when I watched it live way back when I was 20 years old, it was like I didn't think Undertaker had a chance in hell of winning, because it's like I said, I think Undertaker had like one ladder match before this one. I think he might have. Even that I don't know. So it was crazy. And at the end of the match, Jeff Hardy says, "You haven't beaten me yet. You haven't beaten me yet." And and Ross and Lawler are like, get that mic away from him. Turn his mic off, please. I don't want to see Undertaker murder somebody tonight. And Undertaker he's about to just go off on Jeff Hardy, and then he just raises Jeff Hardy's arm and just shakes his head and leaves. And that's the sign of respect. And you saw that a few days ago a few days before this with John Cena. He said, "Hey, you put in a good match," and that was shoot. And this segment also was shoot. And it was the start of a good guy turn for Undertaker. He was still a bad guy here, working as a bad guy, but over the summer, he would have some good guy qualities. I think he fully turned good after the Un-Americans made their debut, which was Test, Lance Storm, and Christian. And they did their anti-American stuff, and then Undertaker, even as a bad guy, just comes out, and fans are cheering him at this point anyway, so he just beats them all up. That was I think that was probably like 3 weeks after this. I don't know. But yeah. Anyways, so that's my review of this show. It's a really good show. It's a good show. Summer 2002 in WWE, I always look over it very fondly, because so many things are changing, and you had no idea what was going to happen at the next show. You really didn't. It's unlike now. Now things are really predictable. Now it's like, okay, well, we see an Asuka versus Sasha Banks. Now we're going to see Asuka with Bayley in Sasha Banks' corner. Now we're going to see Asuka versus Bayley with Sasha Banks in Bayley's corner, And now we're going to see her versus both of them in a handicap match. Then we're going to see, that kind of stuff. And it's all the same. It's all the same now. But back then, back in 2002, back when it was transitioning from Attitude to Ruthless Aggression, you did not know what was going to happen next. You had no idea. You might have had an idea, but you needed to make sure. And when you made and you could only be sure after watching the next show. So I don't know. Good times. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed reminiscing about it. The final rebooking Nexus video. I'm still scripting it all out. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a week. Maybe next Monday I'll come out with that. Next Monday seems good. I like next Monday. Yeah. So the final Nexus video will be next Monday. Alright, everybody. Take care. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.